Welcome to the Dag Code Podcast. This is DDS, where real fans come for real sports talk and no BS. We are your hosts, Blake Melton, Bradley Newberry, and Matthew Parker. Parker, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Nice and dirty, just like the Vols and Titans offense.
Oh, no, it wasn't just the Vols and Titans. It's pretty dirty in Florida as well.
Absolutely. This is our reaction show, and my goodness, folks, do we ever have a bunch of material to have to react to?
It's so much that we had to wait until our children and wives went to bed.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
And while we're at it, hey, guys, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. Hit the notification bell. Go ahead and leave some comments about what you saw from the week before here.
Let me tell you what I saw in Knoxville starting in the college game. The UT Falls fall at home to Pitt 41-34. You can't say I didn't tell you so. They were going to lose by 7. But what I didn't know was that the Vols were going to commit 13 penalties for 134 yards. They also allowed the Pitt D to have 5 sacks, 2 fumbles, 1 interception. We're going straight to Coach Blake.
Guys, we are going into the third game of the year, and yet again, Tennessee does not have the guy at quarterback. We're still trying to figure this out. What is this, 10 years later? I mean, we haven't had a consistent quarterback, it seems like, that's been able to I guess Dobbs was about as close as we got to having a consistent quarterback. But and it's kind of interesting because I think Hendon Hooker he kind of compares to Josh Dobbs a little bit. But, I mean, like Bradley mentioned, 134 yards and penalty yards. That's think about that. That's more than a time up the field. I mean, that's going up the field and back 34 yards. I mean, good grief. Hard to win that way. Too many turnovers. Joe Milton goes down in the second quarter. He made a few good passes, but guys, goodness gracious, this guy could not hit the broadside of my house right now. Forget a barn. I mean, I'm saying the next 3 houses, if you stacked them up side by side, Joe Milton would find a way to overthrow them all. Mm-hmm. It is just absolutely confounding to me that he can make little short and intermediate passes, but if he sees anybody beyond 15 yards from him, he thinks that he has to try to throw it out of Neyland Stadium. It is just crazy. And you know what? Hey, it's not all on him. When he does make a good pass, we just drop the damn ball. Look, we rushed for 136 yards. It's not like we lit it up, on running. I mean, our offensive line, that was something that I really wasn't all that concerned about, and now all of a sudden I'm concerned. I really don't know what to say about that. I mean, and looking at the defensive side of the ball, this is what we were worried about, guys. The whole time in the offseason, you go listen to our preview show. How was the defense going to react to getting the ball back so much? And it showed in the second quarter, in the fourth quarter, they were gassed. 27 points given up in the second quarter. 27. That's terrible. I don't care who you're playing. I'm not even saying – look, I'm not trying to take away from Pitt. Their quarterback, what was his name? Pickett? Pickett. He managed the game well. He just absolutely picked us apart, pun intended. It was pretty disappointing, particularly since, the Pittsburg coach, he did a lot of talking before he came down to Knoxville. And you know what? He left with a W.
He did.
He shoved it right up our ass.
Yeah, he mentioned that he didn't believe, Parker, that this crowd would be a factor. We kind of hinted around the table that Knoxville and what was your number you threw out there? 102-455?
Yeah, 102-455.
That they would play a factor. Parker, do you think they even had a chance to play a factor here? Or did Pitt just kind of jump ahead of that right away?
They could have played a factor, and this game could have been over. To beat the dead horse a little bit, Milton could have ended this game in the first quarter.
Yep.
This game could have been 21-0. And when I looked at his passing, he's 7 of 12. I swear to God, he overthrew like 9 people for touchdowns in the first quarter.
I think it was 6 was the official number.
It was unbelievable how bad. I mean, some of the worst overthrows I've ever seen. I've seen 1 or 2 bad ones, but not this many back to back to back to back. And the crowd would have gotten into it. Just absolutely would have just crushed them. I think we're up 14-21-0. They just could never put their foot on the throat. The two teams, we looked like we had a team that runs an offense that signed a bunch of transfers that don't really know it. They aren't that good. And they look like they have a quarterback that's a fifth-year senior and can, quarterback him down the field when it's important. And that's exactly what it was. Tennessee has Pickett on that. Tennessee wins by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Pickett finished the day 285 yards, 2 touchdowns with a 151.5 rating. Milton and Hooker both finished with a PFF grade of 53.7, which puts them in the not a college player ranking.
Yeah, I mean, enter Hendon Hooker here. And like I said, I mean, he was uncomfortable when he got in. You could tell. There wasn't much rhythm there. Now, he is he is a senior. He's the more senior player here, so you expect him to be a little bit more together, calm in these kinds of situations. You expect him to use his experience, even if it's not in-game experience. You just expect him to do that just because of that. I mean, his completion rate and all that it's okay, but I mean, he had the turnovers and interceptions, some fumbles. I mean, in the open field, he kind of reminds you of a Josh Dobbs. I just don't think he's going to be the guy that's going to win you a bunch of games. He's just kind of a gamer. You know what I mean? He's just a raw athlete. I mean, to be honest with you, he makes some good reads every now and then. But I was telling Bradley before the show, I saw him run. I think they were running some kind of bubble screen or something. He turns to his right, squares up, throws the ball, I'm assuming to the receiver. And I'm not kidding, guys. This ball almost went into the stands. He overthrew him so bad. It literally hit the brick wall behind the Pittsburg bench. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, it was so bad that the wide receiver literally didn't move. He didn't move his hands like up to try to catch it or anything because it was just such a ridiculous-looking pass. So I don't know, guys. I think that this is me talking to Vol Nation right now, and this is me talking to 102-455. Guys, we've got to accept where we are as a program. We are not one guy away from winning the SEC. We are not one guy away from winning a national championship. We got a long climb ahead of us. We got a lot of holes in our lineup, and we have got to be able to build this program back up. And for anybody to think that anything that we have right now is the long-term answer to what's going on in Tennessee, guys, get with it. All right, you need to support your team, but you need to not be the negavols. You need to be supportive, and you need to watch this play out because honestly, I don't think either of these guys that have played so far are going to be your long-term solution.
All right, Parker. So thinking more short-term, I posed the question. Seems like I pose it every week, and I even pose it about my own team. Milton or Hooker? Heupel says it's a game-by-game evaluation.
When Hooker first came in, I was pretty hard on him on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I thought he looked awful. Mm-hmm. I just was because I was sitting there watching it going, come on, just get him in because nobody could miss these passes like Milton did. And they brought him in. I was like, oh my God, he's worse. Like I just didn't think it was just gonna be possible, but I changed a little bit later in the game, guys. He settled down. The short term is Blake's right. These guys aren't going to be the solutions. I mean, Milton's got to throw it through the receiver if he's more than 15 yards down. He has no touch. I mean, just nothing. He's throwing it 500 miles an hour from 10 yards away. So Hooker's probably, honestly, the safer. It's going to be Milton with the higher floor, lower ceiling type thing. Mm-hmm. But Hooker, I think, is going to get you more consistently in the middle.
for either one of you guys, how does this play out coming into a week where you kind of get a pass here? You're going against Tennessee Tech ahead of the Florida game. How does this play out this week in the warm-up game?
For me, look, I mean, there's a lot of folks that are calling for Harrison Bailey to get some playing time.
The third one.
I'm telling you right now, if Harrison Bailey is not going to be considered as a solution for the rest of this season, I want to see Hendon Hooker get all the snaps. I don't want to see split time. I mean, Bradley's talked about it before. If you got two quarterbacks, you got no quarterbacks. And I do believe that's where we are at Tennessee is right now. We don't have a quarterback right now. We're grasping at straws here. So, I mean, for me, I want to see Hendon Hooker get all the snaps. I want him to get all the snaps in practice. I want to get him all the snaps in this game. And, I mean, like Parker said, I mean, he's the one that's going to at least keep it between the lines for you somewhat better than Joe Milton. And he may not – if he can hold on to the ball, if he can not fumble the ball, maybe he can make some more stuff because he looks like he's a little bit more shifty out in open space.
Parker, are they going straight to Hooker against Tennessee Tech?
I believe so. I think they're going to have to. You know, first of all, we don't know what Milton's injury is, but you know what you got in Milton as a starter. Like, we know what it is. You have a 2-game data point. You know what he can do, what he can't do against bad teams. We don't know what Hooker can do with the week's prep, with getting the start, with knowing he's going out there. I think they've got to see what they have. Even if Milton is completely healthy, again, you know what you have. You've got to see what you have in Hooker because they just don't. They just don't know.
I agree. Totally agree.
Do either one of you have any other final thoughts or stats that you wanted to just get off your chest with this loss?
I actually have a good one. I'm going to go glass half full here. Yes, for the short term, this team doesn't look great, right? Hey, but at the same time, guys, we lost 41-34. Are you kidding me? For the last 3 years, I've been happy to score 10 points. At least it's fun. It's moving in the right direction. Also, this offense works. You can see it. There's people streaking down the field wide open. We just can't get them the ball. So it's one thing to say, oh, my God, this offense doesn't work and we don't have a quarterback. This offense can work. We just don't have a very accurate quarterback. And also, Heupel can adjust. He knows he doesn't have a quarterback. His entire career, he averages over 80 plays per game. He's done that in the earlier game last week. Also, he ran so many plays. This week, you know how many plays he ran? 66. Pitt ran 82. So he slowed it down knowing, oh, my God, we're gonna have to adjust a little bit. And he was 50-50 from run to pass, 33 and 33. I think it is glass half full on Heupel. I was high on him before the season started. I'm still high on him. He just has to get his quarterback in there.
I think I agree. I mean, I know the worry is that you're going to give it back to the defense, but I mean, like Parker's saying, you got guys with 2, 3, 4, 5 steps on some of these defensive backs, albeit against some lesser competition so far. But I mean, they are so wide open. You can't think that maybe that sometimes they're going to come open against some of these better defenses too. We just got to have the personnel to get it to them and to catch the ball too.
And this game, we were missing 2 of our better defensive players, a good offensive lineman, one of our best running backs. They were down people.
For sure. I mean, it wasn't the reason they lost, but it damn sure didn't help.
I honestly think the Vols are right where I expected them to be.
Yeah, I mean,
about 1-1.
Yeah.
They should win the next game to go to 2-1, and then I totally expect them to lose against Florida. So right now they're lining up exactly where I had them in my predictions. It's when you get past the Florida game, then how do they respond to the rest of that SEC schedule? But right now, in my mind, as the non-Vol fan, they're exactly where I expected.
No surprises to you,
not
other than they have a quarterback that tries to throw the ball out.
I think the biggest surprise to me, being the non-fan, is I kind of like a player or two on their defensive line.
Yeah,
I think their secondary is trash.
No, it's
And we'll talk about a pro team's secondary that's
yeah,
trash.
exactly. Well, I mean, that's the other problem with Tennessee is we don't have any good linebackers. Our best linebacker was a running back 2 years ago.
They really don't have any linebackers. During the spring game, I think they had tight ends playing the linebackers because that's how few that they have.
Well, I can transition to another college team that their time's up in trying to figure out who their starting quarterback is. The Florida Gators. Florida Gators roll 42-20 as expected, racking up 666 yards. On offense, they are now number one in the NCAA at 382 yards rushing per game. The problem is that both of their quarterbacks contribute a lot to that rushing attack, Parker. We've got Richardson, is a name that you keep telling me to listen for.
Yes.
Jones, Richardson, Jones. How's that going to shake out? Nobody knows, but time's up because guess what? They got Alabama this week.
How do you keep Richardson off the field? His stat lines are insanity. He's like video game Michael Vick numbers out there. Do you have them in front of you, Brad?
I do. 3 of 3, 152 yards, good for 50.7 yards per pass, 2 touchdowns and no picks.
That's more yards than Emory Jones had with 22 attempts.
Blake, tell him who was the leading rusher.
Anthony Richardson with 4 for 115, 28.8 average with 1 touchdown.
Oh, what do you think about that?
What do they? I just don't know what they can.
What do you do with that?
We talked about coming into this game. This game was not about the opponent. It's not about anything. This was about the quarterback situation and figuring that out. I feel like that I'm gonna literally say the same thing I said in the preview broadcast for this game. I just don't know.
I don't either.
I'm more confused now than I was before then. I mean, I still don't know who they are.
I mean,
seriously. I mean, they're going to kind of get a taste of reality here when they go up against probably the best defense that they're going to see.
It's simply the best team in college football.
Yeah, are they going to get 363 rushing yards against them? I mean, they're going to dare him to throw it.
Look, Coach Mullen insists there is no reason to change his depth chart. He has 2 talented quarterbacks, and I hate that statement.
Yeah.
2 QBs equals 2 running backs in my book.
Yeah, man. And how many of that 363?
Well, look at who the top 2 rushers were.
Your top 2. I mean, it's basically a third of your rushing yards were coming from your running or from your 2 quarterbacks.
That's right.
Ugh.
But they're also playing trash competition.
Of course.
They're able to run around like this.
Yeah.
They're not going to know who they are until the Tennessee game because the first 2 opponents were nobody. Alabama's on a different sphere. You can't compare yourself to, you don't know who you are against them. And then you'll play an SEC team that's down that you can actually get a good gauge against. It really is going to be that long until I think they have an answer. Unless Alabama just,
Yeah, because, Damian Pierce, is that their running back? Is that your running back?
Let's go with.
Or is it Naquan Wright? There's nobody with more than 55 yards other than these 2 quarterbacks. So they're not really a running team. They're a scrambling team. They got 2 guys playing. Well, one guy proved I can't say anything about him. Emory Jones is just scampering around back there waiting for all the defensive backs to get down the field 25, 30 yards so he can go run up the field, 12, 13 yards.
So
they're not even a running team. They're a scrambling team.
Week 1, their leading rusher was again Richardson. 160 yards with a touchdown, and their second leading rusher was Davis. 97 yards with a touch.
I don't understand why. I feel like I say this, but I'm screaming at the Chicago Bears. I'm like, why is this quarterback still out there? Why is it the guy that's obviously more electric getting the ball more?
Hell, he scored a touchdown this week.
Yes.
The big red Andy Dalton. Leading them down the field against Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald.
I don't know. They scored a lot of points early, too.
They did. It was at 35-7. No, 35-3 at halftime. But yeah, the game didn't really matter. We knew they were going to just
No, they were never in any danger of
blow
losing
them
the
out.
game.
But that was their last attempt, I believe, gentlemen, that they had to try to figure out who the heck they were. They get, I'm afraid they get punched in the mouth. I just hope that they don't get hurt too bad. Because they need to be ready to go with the Knoxville team. There shouldn't be any expectation to beat Alabama, other than they're playing at home, so that may try to lift their spirits a little bit.
Do you think that maybe he knows who he wants to play, and he is just getting every single bit of advantage he can get pre-snap against Nick Saban, not that it really matters, and just to try to hey, you got to prepare. They're going to have to prepare for both guys now. They're not just preparing for Jones or Richardson, and you've got to spend extra time getting ready for both these guys just to make them have to work harder.
Boy, you're giving him a lot of credit.
Yeah, really.
Maybe. I don't know. There could be some gamemanship there.
We'll see. That's all I can say. I mean, we're just going to have to see. I still have the same questions that I had before. I mean, is that really who they are? Are they? I mean, they're not a running team. I think we've just established that. They're not a running team. They just scampered around. That's all it is.
Maybe, is there something to the 666? Is it a sign for Alabama?
I don't know.
Total yards.
So you're saying the Gators are the devil?
They could be Alabama's devil.
Oh, jeez.
We'll see with my picks coming up later in the week.
All right.
But here's one that all three of us got right. The SEC game of the week. Like I said, this would be the last time we ever say this about either one of these teams. Kentucky, 35-28 over Mizzou. It was a gut check victory for the Kentucky Wildcats in that dark night on Kroger Field. Rodriguez, a career-high 206 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and added a receiving touchdown. Do you have any at all thoughts about this SEC East game, Parker?
Missouri still stinks. I know it was within 7. I don't feel like it was that. Kentucky, actually, we talked about this, has a big arm quarterback. They didn't need it.
No.
All they did was run the ball down their throat.
Yep.
Got out of there. This did not feel to me. It felt exactly like we talked about. Kentucky could take this one on me.
Honestly, this could have been worse. He fumbled like 2 into the end zone as well.
Yep. It just didn't feel close to me.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking. I mean, he only tried to throw the ball 18 times. I mean, like I said, I mean, they were just pounding it. It looks like they ran the ball almost 40 carries. I mean, it was pretty clear what their strategy was. I mean, good grief. Let's see here. Come on.
It felt like Kentucky of old,
There.
where they had to run the ball.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a quarterback. This one, they just felt like they could run the ball because Missouri's defense is very bad and very questionable. So, I mean, why not? Just keep pounding the rock and get out of there. What do they have, 360 yards rushing?
Yeah.
340.
340, yeah. Very efficient on third down. Got 8 of 12. Not bad. It's not bad for third down. I mean, this is about what I thought it was going to be. So, still not impressed with Missouri. And until they give me a reason to, otherwise, my opinion won't change there.
Yeah. Were either one of you impressed by Texas this week? The number 15 Texas Longhorns lose to SEC Arkansas Razorbacks 40-21.
Hey, say hello to your new rival, Texas, in the SEC West. A little Arkansas-Texas rivalry brewing, maybe?
But did you just laugh a little bit, Parker, when you saw that? Or were you like, I told you?
Dude, I saw some horns down coming from those Arkansas players after the game.
I'll tell you right now, Texas gets their panties in a wad about the horns down thing. If they think out in Texas and Oklahoma that they get that a lot, wait till they go through every SEC stadium. Because they're not going to be rolling into Kansas and be able to trounce them.
Nope.
They lost to Arkansas, who we picked as one of the worst teams in the West.
Absolutely. I'm sticking
now,
with it.
I will say I do believe Arkansas has a ground game. I thought that's way stronger than what I thought it was going to be. But this Texas team, I mean, it's a money grab to come to the SEC, and their recruiting is going to improve, obviously, because they're Texas. I mean, they got doubled up by one of the worst teams in the West.
Arkansas 333 on the ground, 7.1 per carry. What do you see?
Dude, I mean, Texas didn't have hardly any offense. They had less than
Look at their passing.
less than 300 yards of total offense, 56 yards, 118 passing yards. That's a joke. Arkansas threw up 471 on their ass. I mean, they just took the rock and they said, you know what, we're going to run it. We're going to keep running it until you stop us. And they never did, apparently.
Nope. And they blanked them in the first half.
Yep. Absolutely. They blanked. I mean, pretty much
16-0.
16-0. 17-point third quarter for the Razorbacks. Goodness gracious.
But I do have an issue with Arkansas fans.
Okay.
Who does
Blast.
Why are you rushing the field?
it?
Texas isn't good. Yes, it's a big name that you beat from the old Southwest Conference from like 1994. I mean, just keep it classy. You know, like, what is the point? It's not like you knocked off Alabama. By you rushing the field against a Texas team, that just shows to me that you stink over the years. I just think that, yeah, it's just something you can't be doing. I thought it was really weird. I always find it really weird when teams rush the field when they beat a bad team.
He just asked the Arkansas Razorback fans to stay classy. I argue, do they know what that means? They're just being them.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, that just shows you the state of that program, quite frankly. I mean, you got to act like you've done it before. That you beat a team before. So
They haven't done that since they had Matt Jones playing quarterback for them and then drafted in the first round by the Jags.
dude, I'm just looking at these stats. These stats suck. These are horrible stats.
So both of you want to blast Texas.
I mean, it's just effing terrible. I mean, they couldn't throw the ball, clearly. I got one quarterback here with 61 yards, and I got another one with 57. That's gonna win you some games, you know. And
we talked about this on our preview podcast. You know who loves this loss, though? That is Oklahoma State.
Oh God,
and
yeah.
Everyone else in that conference.
Ooh.
Yep.
Hey, we're going to talk about that conference right now. Iowa, 27-17 over Iowa State. I believe that was Parker's best bet.
Yes, it was.
Uh-oh. It looks like the trends are staying in put with this game. Iowa coach Matt Campbell now falls to 0-5 versus Iowa. What happened?
Brock Purdy turned it over 4 times. Yeah, if you go look at the box score, guys, and I take this I think the analysis on this game's right. You go look at the box score, take away the score of the game. You think Iowa State wins by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa is incredibly inefficient. They average, I think, 2.8 yards per play. This team is also fraudulent. I mean, I just don't think Iowa's that good. Obviously, Iowa State didn't beat them. I mean, they just cannot make those crucial turnovers. That's the name of this game. And why the heck did Matt Campbell stay in Iowa State instead of going to freaking Detroit and accepting all that $70 million? I can't figure that out. And I really thought Iowa State against Northern Iowa was not showing anything because, they didn't want to give it to Iowa. No, they just weren't showing anything because they didn't have anything.
They didn't have anything.
Yep.
That was proven.
So, but you know what? It's the name of the game. You cannot turn it over that many times.
No, there's just so few teams that are that good that they can turn the ball over 4. I don't know if there's hardly any teams that can turn the ball over 4 times. Golly, and still
at
win.
home.
Yeah, I mean you're right. Looking at the stat line, it's incredibly one-sided. But too many turnovers. That kills you every time.
I mean, they pulled Purdy. They benched him because he was so bad.
Yeah. Golly. I just saw those stats. That's terrible. That is, I mean, golly.
It is one of the more. I don't know how much you guys sat and watched it. I tried to sit and watch most of it, and it was both offenses. It was so boring.
I mean, is this Iowa football? Is this what the state of Iowa has to give for football? Because this right here is shit. I tell you, I see 3 shitty quarterbacks here on this stat line. I got 106 yards for the Iowa. I got 138 and 114.
All I know is that they got me an underdog pick, so thank you,
They
Iowa.
did. Hey, and when y'all do the broadcast from the man cave, I do have a giant Iowa Hawkeyes man cave flag. We could.
Nice. You can put it right beside me.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, there was a little SEC team that had a big scare out west. They were playing in Colorado. Texas A&M escapes is the best way I can say it. 10-7. What's up with that?
Guys, this I was really high on Texas A&M. I think we all were.
I had them winning the West.
Yeah, I this is kind of starting to worry me here because I mean, at first, you're like, do they just start slow or whatever? I mean, I'm having a hard time seeing Texas A&M score points, and I don't mean like a lot of points. I mean just score. Period. Not very impressive with the offense for sure. I mean, bless their defense's little heart. I mean, they're holding them to a 260. I mean, it's not like they're doing a bad job on defense. I mean, my goodness, they just can't make anything happen on offense. It seems like.
Did their quarterback go down, Parker, in this game?
Yeah, yes, the quarterback went down in it, but it just you're playing Colorado. You're Texas A&M. Like, you should be able to roll out there with your third string on everybody and just pound them. I mean, I know Colorado's not awful, but you're Texas A&M. I'm with y'all. I mean, I feel crazy even picking when I picked Alabama over Alabama at this moment, thinking about it. The line right now would be like 28 points.
So did is it Calzada that got hurt? Or was it King? Haynes King.
Let's see here. I'm trying to remember.
I got one quarterback that has 2 attempts. And I got one that's got 38.
Let's see.
It makes me think it was King that got hurt.
Yeah. No, it was, Haynes King got hurt. It was Calzada, the one that came in for him.
Oof. That's brutal.
So, but still, I mean, you're Texas A&M. Like, and not only did they win the game barely, they had to win it in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do they not have a running game? I mean, they're an SEC team. Can they not run the damn ball?
They ran for 97 yards.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Against not an SEC defense. I mean, come on.
There was another team that struggled against a not SEC defense that not only took them into the fourth quarter, but about 3 minutes to go in the entire game, this team was losing at home to Toledo. Ended up winning 32-29. We're talking about Notre Dame. That's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Who did he execute this week?
I mean, hey, me and Bradley talked before. I mean, does that mean Toledo and FSU are that good, or does that mean that Notre Dame is as good as Toledo and FSU?
I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. I do think FSU is better than how they have been, and Toledo has a good offense. Notre Dame we talked about this, they have that new defense, so they're still trying to get used to that. I always think Notre Dame, I mean, for years, they've been overrated. Every single year they are. But this Toledo pick, I mean, there were 18-point dogs going into this, and that was the easiest cover of all time.
I was stunned when I turned it over there, and I was like, what? Toledo's winning? 4 minutes to go in the game. Wow. Well, here's another. I mean, all 3 of us will rejoice anytime we see Ohio State on the wrong end of the scoreboard, but completely stunned me. I picked Oregon as my best bet just to cover the spread, but Oregon just comes quacking into Ohio State and wins 35-28. I have no explanation, Parker.
Ohio State should be your least favorite team because their defense is awful. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. I mean, it's not like Oregon was doing anything crazy. They were just standing up there running it down their throats half the time, and they couldn't stop it. I've just never seen Ohio State defense look that bad.
Yeah, I think bad, very bad. There's no other way to put it.
Well, look at their offensive third down efficiency. What does that say over there?
So Ohio State is 6 of 15.
Ooh.
6 of 15. 2 of 5 on fourth down. It starts making me nervous when a team has to go for a bunch of fourth downs.
They're panicking.
Yep, they get desperate, and then that happens. I mean,
I do love these look-ahead games, though, where people get beaten where they shouldn't get beaten, and then they play a really terrible team. Ohio State plays Tulsa this week, and I would assume they want to come out and just beat them by like 50 points.
Am I not mistaken, but has Tulsa played a murderer's schedule? It seems like Tulsa played Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa played Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And now they're about to play Ohio State?
They ain't scared.
What is this, Tulsa?
They are not scared.
Gee.
Well, they only lost to Oklahoma State by 5.
And they had Oklahoma on the ropes.
Yeah, they did.
And they're 31 points against Ohio State.
Good God Almighty.
I bet Tulsa could beat this next team we're going to touch on. However, this team went on the road and got a gutsy victory, earned Parker some cash. Vandy, 24-21. Ken Seals, 236 and 2 touchdowns. How full is that wallet over there, Parker?
You know what? I was too scared to pick that as my favorite underdog pick in our picks, but I did put a little bit of money there, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, both teams were coming off embarrassing losses by FCS teams. Clark Lee's the better coach. I wanted to stand by the fact that he was going to have them ready to go. And Ken Seals is not as bad as he was in that first game. He's not doing his version of the butt fumble in every game. So Vandy, I'm really not shocked by it. In fact, what it makes me even more happy about it wasn't like they came out to this horrible team and went up 21-0 real quick. They were down at halftime. They had to make some adjustments at halftime, come back out, and get the win. And I really, really like this for this Vanderbilt team. And, kind of like to cheer for a bad Vandy team every now and then.
Yeah, it was a good third quarter. Good third quarter. Blake's got some stats pulled up here.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a little concerning looking at the amount of yards that
it's definitely
against a Colorado State team. Goodness gracious. I mean, in Colorado,
just a win, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado State didn't do themselves any favors either. They had 11 penalties for 115 yards. So, I mean, they didn't help themselves at all. They did have an interception. But, yeah. Anchor down? Is that what this is?
Hey, just get a win, man.
It's a win.
You lose to East Tennessee State by 20 points. A W from anybody is good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they're not going to go winless this year. That's
None
the
of us
main
thought
thing.
they would. No.
Well, I didn't think this was the game they were going to win, though.
Well, anybody got any other college games they want to react to before we switch gears?
App State almost pulled my upset off. My dog almost won.
Miami.
They were down 2. They had the ball with 2 or 3 minutes left, and they just couldn't get it within field goal range.
Parker, you want to say something about South Carolina, one of your favorites?
South Carolina, East Carolina, they had the game, 14-0. It was easy. It's just frustrating when they lose a game like that. I want to go ahead and say it now. This South Carolina team is bad. And I think Vanderbilt, I want to update my predictions. I think Vanderbilt can finish in front of them. I think they are awful. I mean, awful. And I think Vandy, I predicted earlier they wouldn't get a win in the SEC this year. I would update that to now. I think they'll get one win.
Nice. Well, one more thing about my App State victory over Miami. I think that might be proof that Dad Stradamus over here might have been right.
You're on to something.
About Miami. I think they're not the real deal.